This is your brain. See those lights? That's you taking in all the information around you. What you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're feeling. For more details, Jeff Burns will explain that to you later in the evaluation. So if you were to look inside your brain, you would die. But if scientists were to look inside your brain, they would see something like this. You are constantly making connections with all of the things around you, building bridges, associating me with an egg, with Jeff Burns, and some kind of weird omelet. But right now, the whole purpose of your brain is to make sense of the world around you for your benefit, to help you survive, to help you make the most of things. So that's the fundamental principle to understand. So now that we understand your brain, let's blow it. So there are just a few carnal senses that you're immediately born with. They're usually pain, shortness of breath, hunger, all of those fun things. Everything else you learn, your eyesight, your hearing, your smell. Yes, you actually do learn your vision. At first, your brain is just sending you tons of information from all of these different data sources, and it's up to your mind to try to make sense of that. But your brain, bless its heart, doesn't care about your eyes, or your nose, or your ears. If it can get that same information from some other data source, it will. That is how someone who is blind is able to use echolocation to be able to virtually see.
This would be a basketball court. And there would be the hoop.
This is how scientists are now able to create prosthetic limbs that send data up to your brain that your brain can then interpret as touch. So, you ready to keep going? We literally only sense a fraction of what's around us. As a simple example, this is the electromagnetic spectrum that we all learned about in school. We as humans only can perceive a small, tiny fraction of that, which is visual light. But that's all we need for our purposes. But other animals have other needs. Snakes can see infrared light, just so that they can see you in the dark. Bees can sense ultraviolet light, which allows them to hone in on the nectar within flowers. But other creatures are able to have senses even beyond the electromagnetic spectrum. That's just one example. The humble pigeon is able to detect the magnetic field within the earth, so that way it can find exactly how to get back home, even without any kinds of landmarks. Ants are able to sense smell. They use pheromones so that they can communicate as a colony, as an army, which is similar to us as humans when we sense kind of this mob mentality and are able to sense the feeling within the room. So we only sense a fraction of all of the possible information that's around us, but we can at least trust what we do sense, right? Not necessarily. So there's research now which is called the interface theory. So researchers at University of California at Irvine conducted a bunch of computer simulations that put different evolutionary models against each other. And what they found is that veridical, which is basically a fancy word or an eloquent way of saying reality-based, perceptions can be driven to extinction by non-veridical strategies that are tuned to utility rather than to objective reality. So what does that mean? Well, think of a computer. Would you be better off seeing exactly what's going on inside of a computer? Or are you better served by a user interface that's more graphical, that helps you to find the utilitarian purpose for what you're trying to accomplish? So it could be that what we perceive as a healthy apple and a rotten apple is just evolutionary's way of telling us what's healthy and unhealthy, what's safe and unsafe. Now, if this is true, then what happens when we encounter something that we've never had a need to interpret before? Well, as you might expect, the things that we consider constant in our universe, those constant laws, start to break down. So for example, we once thought that time and space are constant and they're independent from each other. We now know that not only are they changeable, malleable, they're also different manifestations of the same thing. We know that energy and mass are just different manifestations of the exact same thing, and that mass with the time-space continuum is what explains gravity. Going down on the micro level, this is the famous two-slit experiment, we learned that a particle can exist in two places at the same time, and that how we choose to observe it can change the behavior of the particle in the past. These are things that make sense mathematically, do not make sense to our natural brain. We haven't had need to interpret this before. And we've pretty much proven Einstein's theory that time, past, present, and future, currently exist. It's just now. And what we perceive as these things is just a mortal construct that we've adapted as humans. As he eloquently put it, the distinction between the past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. So what is truth? What is reality? I'm not going to answer that. Anyone who strives is inevitably going to be controversial. But what we do know is that there is a lot of truth, a lot of information beyond just what we can sense with our five senses. People around the world have strived to tap into this, spirituality, religion, trying to find, is there some higher truth? Are there things that we just can't readily perceive? We can't discount what we can't easily sense. If anything, we should question everything that we do. Madam Toastmaster.